Area 51 has always been surrounded by mystery, but its real story begins during the Cold War. From secret spy planes to government experiments, today we're uncovering the secrets they never wanted you to know. Deep in the Nevada desert, there is a place hidden from the world. It's a place surrounded by mountains and guarded by secrets. This place is called Area 51. For many years the government said it didn't exist. People couldn't find it on any public map. This secrecy made folks very curious. They wondered what was happening behind those guarded gates. The stories about Area 51 grew bigger and bigger over time. They became legends whispered around the globe, tales of strange lights in the sky and technology far beyond what we knew. The mystery of this place isn't just about what is there now, but what has been there for a very long time. The real story of Area 51 is tied to a time of great fear and suspicion. This time was called the Cold War. It was a long period after World War II. The United States and the Soviet Union were the two most powerful countries in the world. They didn't trust each other. They were in a silent battle for power and information. This battle wasn't fought with big armies on a field. It was fought with spies, with secrets, and with technology. Both sides wanted to know what the other was doing. This need for secret information led to the creation of hidden places like Area 51, where the most advanced ideas could be built and tested away from prying eyes. Area 51 became the heart of America's secret aviation programs. It was a place where engineers and pilots could push the limits of what was possible. They built airplanes that could fly higher and faster than anything before. These planes were designed to spy on the enemy without being caught. The work done at this secret base was so advanced that it often looked like something from another world. The shapes of the aircraft were strange and new. The speeds they reached were unbelievable. This is why the stories of UFOs and aliens started. The truth was, in some ways, even more incredible than the fiction. It was a story of human ingenuity driven by a global conflict. The legend of Area 51 is a mix of fact and fiction, a blend of real history and wild imagination. The secrecy that was so necessary during the Cold War created a vacuum. Nature and human curiosity abhors a vacuum, so people filled that empty space with their own stories. They imagined crashed spaceships and alien bodies being studied in underground labs. While these stories captured the public's attention, the real work was just as fascinating. It involved brave pilots, brilliant engineers, and a constant race against time. Uncovering the secrets of Area 51 means peeling back the layers of myth to find the incredible true history hidden beneath. It is a journey back into the heart of the Cold War. The Cold War was a long and tense period in history. It started after World War II, ended in 1945. The world was split into two big groups. One side was led by the United States. It believed in democracy and freedom. The other side was led by the Soviet Union. It believed in a different system called communism. These two superpowers were very different. They didn't trust each other at all. They both had powerful nuclear weapons. This meant a real war between them could destroy the entire world. So, instead of fighting directly, they engaged in a Cold War of threats, spying, and competition for influence. This constant state of tension changed everything. Both the United States and the Soviet Union wanted to be stronger than the other. They built up huge armies and arsenals of weapons, but more importantly, they entered a race for better technology. They wanted to have the best planes, the best rockets, and the best spies. Knowing what your enemy was planning was the most important thing. If you knew where their military bases were or how many bombs they had, you had a big advantage. This desperate need for information, for intelligence, became the main driver of many secret government projects during these tense decades. To get this secret information, both sides needed to spy on each other, but this was very difficult. The Soviet Union was a huge and closed-off country. It was hard to send spies on the ground. Flying a normal plane over their land was also very dangerous because it could be shot down. This would be seen as an act of war. The United States needed a new way to see what was happening inside the Soviet Union without getting caught. This need sparked a revolution in technology. It was the beginning of the age of high-altitude spy planes, and later, spy satellites that could orbit the Earth. Because these projects were so important and so secret, they couldn't be developed in a normal place. They needed to be hidden away from the public and from enemy spies. This is why secret military bases were created. These bases were often in remote, isolated locations where nobody would see what was going on. Area 51 was one of these places. It was the perfect spot in the middle of the desert, far from any cities. The Cold War's shadow created the need for such a place where the lines between science fiction and reality could be blurred in the name of national security. The fear of the enemy pushed technology forward in the darkness. Before it was famous, the land that would become Area 51 was just a dry, empty spot in the Nevada desert. It was near a salt flat called Groom Lake. During World War II, it was used as an aerial gunnery range for Army pilots to practice. But after the war, it was largely abandoned. It was just a forgotten piece of the vast American wilderness. No one could have imagined that this desolate place would soon become the most secret and talked about military installation in the world. Its isolation was its greatest asset. There was nothing around for miles and miles, which meant that whatever happened there would stay there, hidden from view. In the early 1950s, the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, was looking for a special place. The agency was working on a top-secret project with the aircraft company Lockheed. They were building a revolutionary new airplane. This plane needed to be tested in complete secrecy. It couldn't be done at a regular Air Force base. Too many people would see it. The project manager, Richard Bissell Jr., and the plane's brilliant designer Kelly Johnson went searching for the perfect location. They needed a place that was remote, had good weather for flying, and had a long, flat surface for a runway. They needed a hidden home for their secret. They flew over the Nevada desert in a small plane. When they saw Groom Lake, they knew they had found it. The dry lake bed was perfectly flat and smooth. It could serve as a natural runway. The area was already owned by the government as part of the Nevada Test and Training Range. This made it easier to control access. In 1955, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed a secret order. He approved the addition of this piece of land to the test site. The CIA and its contractors quickly began building a small base. They built hangars, a runway, and basic housing. They called the new site Watertown Strip, but its official designation on the map was Area 51. The new base was a harsh and lonely place to work. It was in the middle of nowhere. The summer heat was intense and the winter cold was bitter. The people who worked there were sworn to absolute secrecy. They couldn't tell their families or friends what they were doing or where they were going. They were flown in and out on special unmarked planes. They were building and flying machines that the world was not ready to see. Groom Lake was no longer just a dry lake bed. It had become the hidden stage for the Cold War's most advanced technological drama, a place where the future of espionage was taking flight. The first major secret project at Area 51 had a codename Project Aquatone. This was the program to build and test the U-2 spy plane. The U-2 was unlike any other aircraft of its time. It was designed by the legendary Lockheed engineer Kelly Johnson and his secret team, known as the Skunk Works. The goal was to build a plane that could fly higher than any Soviet fighter jet or anti-aircraft missile could reach. If it could fly high enough, it could take detailed photographs of military sites inside the Soviet Union without being shot down. It was a daring and ambitious plan that pushed the boundaries of aviation technology. The U-2 looked more like a glider than a jet. It had very long, thin wings that stretched out almost 80 feet. These long wings allowed it to soar at incredible altitudes above 70,000 feet. This was more than twice as high as commercial airliners flew. Flying the U-2 was extremely difficult and dangerous. The pilots had to wear special pressurized suits, similar to what an astronaut would wear. At that altitude, the air is so thin that there is a very small margin between the speed at which the plane stalls and the speed at which it breaks apart. The pilots called this thin margin the coffin corner because any mistake could be fatal. The testing at Area 51 began in the summer of 1955. The people working at the base worked tirelessly to get the U-2 ready. The first flights were full of challenges. There were engine failures, equipment malfunctions, and dangerous landing attempts, but the team at Area 51 solved each problem one by one. Soon, the U-2 was successfully flying at its target altitude. The high-resolution cameras it carried were able to take incredibly clear pictures from over 13 miles up in the sky. The project was a success. The plane was ready for its secret missions. It was America's new eye in the sky, a tool that could see behind the Iron Curtain. These high-altitude test flights over Nevada had an unintended side effect. They started the first wave of UFO sightings around Area 51. In the 1950s, regular airline pilots were flying at altitudes between 10,000 and 20,000 feet. Military bombers flew below 40,000 feet. When these pilots saw the silver U-2 reflecting the sunlight at 70,000 feet, they had no idea what it was. It looked like a fiery object impossibly high in the sky. They reported these strange sightings. The Air Force, unable to reveal the secret U-2 program, explained them away as natural phenomena or weather balloons. This official policy of disinformation only fueled the public's growing belief that the government was hiding something extraterrestrial. After the U-2 began its missions, the CIA knew it was only a matter of time before the Soviets developed technology to shoot it down. They needed something even better. They needed a plane that was not just high-flying, but also incredibly fast. This led to the next top-secret project at Area 51, a program with the codename Project Oxcart. The goal of Oxcart was to build a spy plane that could fly faster than a speeding bullet. The result was the Archangel 12, or A-12. This was a single-seat black aircraft made mostly of a special metal called titanium. It was designed to be the ultimate reconnaissance machine. The A-12 was a true marvel of engineering. It was the first aircraft designed for sustained flight at more than Mach 3. That means it could fly at over 3 times the speed of sound, or more than 2,200 miles per hour. At that speed, it could cross the entire United States in about 70 minutes. The friction from the air at such high speeds would heat the outside of the plane to over 500 degrees Fahrenheit. This is why it had to be built from titanium, one of the few materials that could withstand such extreme heat. The A-12 was not just a plane, it was a spaceship that flew within the atmosphere, a masterpiece of the Skunk Works team. Testing the A-12 at Area 51 was even more challenging than testing the U-2. The technology was completely new and unproven. The first flight took place in 1962. The program was plagued by difficulties. The powerful J-58 engines were complex and prone to failure. The fuel the plane used was highly volatile and dangerous. There were several crashes during the test program and some pilots tragically lost their lives. But the team at Groom Lake persevered. They worked in extreme secrecy, solving one impossible problem after another. They pushed the limits of what was known about aerodynamics, materials science, and propulsion. The A-12 was truly a beast of a machine. The strange, flat, saucer-like shape of the A-12 and its incredible speed created a new wave of UFO reports. When people on the ground caught a glimpse of this black triangular shape moving silently across the sky at impossible speeds, they couldn't believe their eyes. It looked nothing like a conventional airplane. The A-12's titanium body would sometimes reflect the sun in strange ways, making it look like a bright, shining object. The government, still committed to absolute secrecy, could not explain that people were seeing a top-secret spy plane. So the UFO myths surrounding Area 51 grew even stronger, fed by the very real but very secret marvels of technology being tested there. While brilliant engineers were building real-life superplanes, fantastic stories about Area 51 began to capture the public's imagination. The most famous rumor, of course, is that the base holds crashed alien spacecraft and their extraterrestrial pilots. This idea was made popular by a man named Bob Lazar in 1989. He claimed in a television interview that he had worked at a secret facility near Area 51 called S4. He said his job was to reverse engineer the propulsion systems of captured alien flying saucers. He described these craft in great detail, claiming they were made of unknown materials and powered by a mysterious element. Lazar's story was sensational. It spread like wildfire and cemented Area 51's place in pop culture as the center of all things alien. He described underground hangars built into the side of a mountain where 9 different types of alien vehicles were stored. He talked about seeing a small alien being. Although a lot of his claims about his own background and education were later proven to be false, his story was exactly what people wanted to believe. It provided a thrilling explanation for the intense secrecy surrounding the base. The idea of the government hiding the single greatest discovery in human history was a powerful and enduring myth. The alien rumors were not just based on Lazar's claims, they were built on decades of strange sightings and government secrecy. The Roswell incident of 1947, where the military first reported and then denied finding a flying disc, had already planted the seed of a government cover-up. The countless UFO sightings around Area 51, which were actually secret test flights of the U-2 and A-12, added more fuel to the fire. It was a perfect storm of circumstances. You had a secret base, strange lights in the sky, and an official policy of denial. It was only natural for people to connect the dots and come to their own, more exciting conclusions. The government's silence was the most important ingredient in this recipe for conspiracy. By refusing to even acknowledge the existence of Area 51 for decades, they created an information vacuum. In the absence of facts, speculation thrived. The alien theory was a simple and exciting answer to a complex question. What could be so important that it requires this level of secrecy? For many, the idea of a secret spy plane, no matter how advanced, was not a big enough secret. It had to be something more. It had to be aliens. This belief turned Area 51 from a secret military base into a modern-day legend. By the 1970s, the Cold War had entered a new phase. The Soviet Union had developed powerful radar systems that could track high-flying and fast-moving aircraft. The A-12, for all its speed, was now vulnerable. The United States needed a new advantage. It needed an aircraft that was not just high or fast, but invisible. This was the beginning of the quest for stealth technology. The idea was to build a plane that radar couldn't see. This was a radical concept that went against everything aircraft designers knew. Instead of being smooth and aerodynamic, a stealth plane would need to be made of sharp angles to deflect radar waves away from the receiver. At Area 51, a new top-secret program began. Its code name was Have Blue. This was the project to build the first true stealth fighter prototype. Lockheed's Skunk Works was again chosen for the task. They used complex computer programs, which were new at the time, to design an aircraft with a bizarre and angular shape. It looked like a faceted diamond. It was nicknamed the Hopeless Diamond by the engineers who built it because many thought it would be too unstable to even fly. The project was so secret that very few people in the government even knew it existed. The work was done in the most secure parts of the already secret base. 2 Have Blue prototypes were built and tested at Groom Lake between 1977 and 1979. Flying this strange machine was incredibly difficult. The angular shape made it naturally unstable. It could only be flown with the help of a sophisticated computer system that made constant tiny adjustments to the controls. The pilots were taking huge risks every time they went up. The test program was dangerous and both prototypes eventually crashed. However, they proved that the concept of stealth worked. The planes were nearly invisible to radar. They were a phenomenal success. The data gathered from the Have Blue flights was priceless. The success of the Have Blue program led directly to the development of the F-117 Nighthawk, the world's first operational stealth aircraft. The F-117 was also developed and tested in secret at Area 51 in a nearby facility. For years, it flew only at night to avoid being seen. Its strange, angular shape and silent flight led to a whole new generation of UFO reports from people living in the Nevada desert. They saw strange triangular lights moving silently through the night sky. They had no idea they were witnessing the next revolution in military aviation. The secrecy of Area 51 had once again hidden a technological leap that would change the face of modern warfare. The extreme secrecy surrounding Area 51 was not just for show. It was a critical part of a national security strategy during the Cold War. The projects being developed there, like the U-2, the A-12 and the F-117, gave the United States a huge strategic advantage over the Soviet Union. If the Soviets had known about these aircraft and their capabilities before they were used, they could have developed countermeasures. This would have made the planes useless. Secrecy protected the investment of billions of dollars and years of work. It ensured that when these technological marvels were finally deployed, they would be effective. Keeping the base's existence a secret was the first line of defense. For decades, the government's official position was that Area 51 did not exist. If anyone asked, they were met with denial or silence. This policy, known as plausible deniability, was crucial. Even if a spy plane crashed or a pilot was captured, the government could deny any connection to a secret program. This was famously tested in 1960 when a U-2 plane piloted by Francis Gary Powers was shot down over the Soviet Union. The initial cover story was that a NASA weather plane had gone off course, a story that fell apart when the Soviets produced the pilot and the plane's wreckage. The secrecy also protected the people who worked at Area 51. They were some of the nation's most brilliant scientists, engineers, and pilots. Their knowledge was a valuable asset. If their identities were known, they could become targets for foreign intelligence agencies. The isolation of the base and the strict security protocols helped keep them safe. They lived in a closed world, unable to share the stress or the triumphs of their work with anyone on the outside. This took a heavy personal toll on many of them, but they understood that the security of the nation depended on their silence and their sacrifice. Finally, the government's silence helped manage public perception and avoid panic. During the Cold War, the threat of nuclear war was very real. Revealing the full extent of the espionage and military buildup could have caused widespread fear and anxiety among the American people. It could also have provoked the Soviet Union, making the delicate balance of power even more unstable. By keeping these advanced programs under wraps, the government could conduct its intelligence operations without creating a public or international crisis. The veil of secrecy, while frustrating for curious outsiders, was seen as a necessary tool for navigating the dangerous landscape of the Cold War. Today, the Cold War is over, but Area 51 is still there. It is still active, still secret, and still guarded. In 2013, the CIA officially acknowledged its existence for the first time in a declassified report about the history of the U-2 program. This admission confirmed what everyone already knew, but it did little to solve the bigger mystery. The government confirmed the base's past, but it has said nothing about its present. This leaves us with a huge and fascinating question. What are they doing there now? The world of military technology has not stood still. The next generation of secret aircraft is almost certainly being developed and tested in the same remote Nevada desert. The public's imagination is still captivated by the base. People continue to speculate about what new technologies might be hidden behind its gates. Are they working on hypersonic drones that can fly at unimaginable speeds? Are they developing advanced space-based weapons? Or perhaps they are perfecting new forms of electronic warfare and cyber technology. The truth is, we don't know. The purpose of a place like Area 51 is to be 10 or 20 years ahead of the rest of the world. The projects that are being tested there today are likely as futuristic to us as the U-2 was to people in the 1950s. The alien question also remains, at least in the public mind. While the historical evidence strongly points to secret aircraft as the source of the UFO sightings, the myth is too powerful to disappear completely. The government's long history of secrecy and denial has created a deep sense of distrust for many people. They believe that even if the U-2 and A-12 explain the old sightings, it doesn't mean there isn't something more hidden away. Until there is complete transparency, which is unlikely for a military test site, some people will always wonder if the biggest secret of all is still being kept. The enduring enigma of Area 51 is a testament to our fascination with the unknown. It represents the line between what we know and what we can only imagine. The base is a physical place, a collection of runways and hangars on a dry lakebed, but it is also a powerful symbol. It symbolizes the incredible achievements of human ingenuity, the dark tensions of global conflict, and the deep-seated desire to believe that there is something more out there. What new secrets are being written in the skies above Groom Lake today? That is a question that will likely keep us guessing for many years to come, ensuring that the legend of Area 51 will live on.